So I'm Jane Parker. I have been one of the Happy project officers for Heart Sports Partnership. We'll obviously introduce everybody else, but actually my time is coming to an end, so I will be still working for the Heart Sports Partnership, but I'm not going to be working on the Happy project going forward. But we'll introduce you to kind of the guys who are going to be doing that going forward. Some of the team obviously still saying that you'll know, as I know we've got some deliveries and organisations who did deliver in either Easter or summer, but we might have some new people as well. So just to kind of let you know, I won't be the main point of contact anymore going forward for Happy. We've got Shelley, you'll probably know Shelley from Heart Sports Partnership, so she's going to be the lead on the project. So Shelley will be kind of taking on the main role of leading Happy, really. Orla, I don't know if Orla's on our panel. She should be on our panel, but she might not be, but she is here. So Orla Moore, she's also going to be one of the coordinators on the Happy project. Kay, I don't think Kay's here, but Kay Cersei, also from Heart Sports Partnership, will be on the Happy team. So those three, with Matt Rayner, who's one of our panelists, he kind of heads up all of us and oversees it, so he'll be involved a bit as well, but Shelley Woods will be the main kind of lead going forward. And also on our panel we've got Nikki Fawcett from Hearts Community Foundation and Helen Dubow, also from Hearts Community Foundation. So they're kind of the guys who look after the all the funding grants and the training side of the project. So they're here. If there's any questions regarding that, they'll kind of chip in and help out. Pablo, also from Hearts, I can't remember the county council, the main place where we all live. Pablo is here. He's not one of our panelists, but he is on kind of the he has joined us as well today. So yeah, we've got quite a lot of people on the panel, so if there's any questions they'll hopefully be able to help and answer throughout. But we'll kind of get started with the presentation. Okay, so I know some of you may have known kind of delivered before and known about some of the background of the project, but we do have some new people as well, so it's kind of just to go through those bits, and then there's some changes for Christmas delivery, so it's just to kind of highlight those as well going forward. So as I kind of just talked about some of the partners who we've got involved, the funding and partnership of the whole HAF project, the funding is coming from the Department of Education, and they've put in across the whole country 220 million for the project, and that is to deliver free school meals, camps and holiday activity and provision for free school meal children. We'll obviously go into a bit more exactly the ins and outs. So what that looks like for Hertfordshire is 2.7 million, and that's to deliver across Easter, summer, and also the Christmas holiday period. So this Christmas will be the last kind of part. We'll obviously waiting to hear from the Department of Education and things like that, if what the plans are for the next year. Hopefully they're going to keep the funding going and do it again, and we'll be hopefully delivering it again, but obviously we can't confirm that yet, but that is the hopefulness of what's going to happen. Hello to, I think we just had maybe somebody else join. If you just want to introduce yourself in the chat function, we've only just started, so you've not missed too much. Background, so kind of the school holidays can be a particular pressure point for some families. Increased costs such as the food and childcare, normally obviously at school, and those things are covered. Reduced incomes, just purely not being able to work as much. So we've got a lot of families that are on low income, they're kind of less likely to access organised out of school activities, those normal holiday provisions that a lot of children would take part in and do instead of school, and they don't often get the opportunity to do those things. More likely to experience unhealthy holidays, so the nutrition and physical health. I think it's important noting that when they're at school, they get that school food standards meal, they get a hot meal, and when you hit 6 weeks of the summer holidays, that's a long period that they don't get that. Same in Christmas, 2 weeks, Easter 2 weeks, it's a long period where they're actually not going to get that meal, and they might not be getting that meal at home. More likely to experience social isolation, so they're not interacting with anybody else. When they're at school, they do interact with other people, and that's kind of been taken away from them when the holidays come. It's also worth noting COVID has had a big impact on the social isolation part of it, and also there's a lot more families on low incomes now due to COVID, so it's even more in need. And so looking at the programme itself, It's the idea is to support children and young people to eat more healthily over the school holidays, be more active, take part in engaging and enriching activities, so to kind of support their development of resilience, character, and well-being, along with their wider educational attainment. So we obviously want to see children doing sport and physical activity, but it's very, very important that there's lots of other aspects and elements as well within the programmes and within the holiday camps. I think us obviously being a Heart Sports Partnership, trying to get that across to people is that, you know, we don't just want sports clubs to deliver these projects. It's really important that we get the wider kind of culture of different things taking part as well. So just looking back at the summer, we had some brilliant projects that were kind of arts and crafts led. They obviously had to include some physical activity within their session, but they were heavily more on the arts and crafts side of things and that. So it's, you know, kind of a part of the project that could be more than just a part of it. And some of the sports organisations that we work with, the enrichment will only be 1 hour of the project, which is fine, but it can be the other way around. But we go into that a little bit more as well. Ideas to be safe and not to be socially isolated. So yeah, we want children to be with other children and with people. Have a greater knowledge of health and nutrition. So we try and teach them a bit of, you know, these projects, we want them to learn a little bit more about what they should be eating or what are the right things to eat and just generally how to be healthy. And be more engaged with school and other local services. So there's kind of an element of trying to feed them into local clubs or local opportunities and being more engaged when they do go back to school. Specification. So a lot of the these are kind of some of the rules and the must-haves for the project. School age has to be school age children, so 5 to 16-year-olds, and they have to be eligible for benefits related to free school meals. So they would have signed up, and the schools hold that data, so they know who their children on free school meals are. Obviously, families know that they're a free school meal pupil, and there's codes that we give out to these children so they can book on. It's delivered in the Easter, summer and Christmas. So obviously this one we're looking is now at the Christmas holiday period. What the kind of idea is, it's 4 hours a day, 4 days a week for up to 4 weeks during the summer holiday period, school holiday period. So this obviously changes. So the summer holidays, that's the idea that it's for 4 weeks. When it's looking at Christmas, it changes slightly. So it's still the 4 hours a day, and it can be 4 days a week, but we're actually looking at more of a minimum of 1 day delivery or maximum of 10 days because of how Christmas falls. It's not as easy as just kind of sticking to the 4 hours, 4 days, 4 weeks option. But again, we go into that a little bit more down the line in this presentation to kind of break it down when you can deliver. So it's a bit more helpful. The things that we're looking at is obviously, so as I said, physical activity needs to be involved in it. Food has to be a hot meal. There needs to be enrichment activities. And then the policies and procedures, so making sure, you know, you've got your risk assessments in place and your staff are all DBS checked and all those things. It's really important. So what we're trying to deliver is 5,000 opportunities across the county per day. So this again will be in the Christmas holidays. Statutory, voluntary and private sectors, so anybody can apply for this. It's quite open. We want to make sure that you can you know, apply and get grants for this project, because we know there's lots of organisations out there who would be brilliant at delivering it. So it's not just restricted to some funding grants are kind of a bit more restricted. This is a little bit more open. Grants, so the grants programme is now open. So it's live. We'll share details of where you can find the application forms later on. And another kind of part of it is to link children, as I said earlier, to kind of services and further opportunities. So it's a great opportunity to kind of make children aware of and families aware of what is available out there and what we can kind of, you know, there's a lot more help out there for them than I think a lot of these families know about. It's just providing that opportunity. So the Christmas delivery. So we've raised the amount that you can, the grant sort of how it works. So it used to be £20 for the summer holidays. It was £20 per child that you could apply for. We've now raised that to £30 per child per day. And so when you're doing your applications, and this is because we want you to kind of take on a bit more of, there'll obviously be, we've taken into account that there's going to be a lot more indoor facilities that it's going to need to cover. But also we know that there's a lot more, we kind of want you to take on a bit more of making sure that, you know, you've confirmed with those children that they're coming to these camps. They've booked on, they'll book on for our booking system again, which we'll talk about in a bit. But it's just making sure that, you know, you've followed up with them, you sent them booking confirmations of the addresses and the details, and there's the food element that you kind of need to factor into these costs. So everything comes into this £30 per child per day cost. Minimum of 1 day delivery and a maximum of 10 days delivery. So again, because it's Christmas, it's slightly different. We obviously go across a few bank holidays. You're more than welcome to deliver on some of those. We've kind of put all the dates below that you can deliver on. And yeah, it's kind of up to you. You don't have to deliver on all of them. You can deliver on 1, 2, 3, it's totally up to you. But the maximum is 10 because that's the kind of days that are available. And the minimum is 1 day of delivery. Based on the parent feedback, so as I've mentioned kind of earlier, the specialist camps have been really, really welcomed. Performing arts, crafting, sports specific, leadership based. So we've had a variety of different camps take place. Some of the, for instance, a football camp would be quite booked up compared to a multi-sports camp. Obviously, some multi-sports camps were also really booked up, but I just think that it kind of was quite good that it was focused and the children or families could be like, oh, I know that they like gymnastics, I'm booking them on that. So we had, so the gymnastics was really popular, booked out straight away. Crafting and performing arts, as I said earlier, they were also ones that booked out straight away. So it would be really good to get some more of those camps because, you know, we want more of those opportunities available. And yeah, if you kind of, with your descriptions, when you're putting in your application or when you're even, if you're successful and you're writing it up, it's quite important that those descriptions are, say what your camp is going to be doing and what it's going to be entailing, because the parents do like to know that. Also, I will be sharing this presentation, so you'll kind of be able to see all the dates and things like that. Food, so these are the non-negotiables. So this is programme delivery. These things have to take place. And yeah, kind of these are a must. It's part of the government's guidelines. It's what, you know, what the project's all about. So the food must be a school standard hot meal. And this is kind of one of the big main reasons that it's happening. A lot of these children don't get food, a good standard hot meal when they're at home. So it's making sure that they're getting that during the day. 1 hour of physical activity per day. So, you know, if you're looking at a specialist camp that is arts and crafts, just making sure that in that each day there is 1 hour of physical activity involved. 1 hour of enrichment activity per day, or it doesn't actually have to be an hour, it's just 1 enrichment activity per day. So again, something that kind of builds on the children's leadership skills, their kind of personal development, just, you know, confidence building, things like that. Monitoring and evaluation information. So we'll obviously ask you to kind of, with our Playwaze booking system, to tick off when children have attended or follow up with some information for us. That's all part of it. And making sure all your free school meal places are listed on the Playwaze booking system. So we have a central point of where everybody will be directed to, all parents, all children, where they can book on. So all of our projects are available on there. So everything that we deliver has to be on the Playwaze booking system. Everything. So if you receive a funding grant, it's a free school meals project. The Happy Project has to go on the booking system. Christmas programme delivery, so a little bit more, can be existing provision. So, you know, we encourage providers who already got camps running to fund more places on what they've already got. We're not necessarily asking you to do something totally different if you don't already, you know, if you've got something that works and it's good, definitely add that on. Add some free school meal places onto that. That would be really good, and you can obviously apply for the funding to cover it. You can offer some paid for places as well. So if you are starting from, you know, scratch, there can be some paid for places as well as free school meal places available. That's totally fine. Can be longer than 4 hours. The government's guidance is 4 hours, but if you do kind of go down, you have to be sort of Ofsted registered, and it can kind of be, you have to go through, the families can kind of claim back 85% of their childcare costs through universal credit. So, you know, it's something to look into if you wanted the camps to be longer, and families to access it for free still. But yeah, the kind of 4 hours is the rule. But if you're Ofsted registered, and, you know, you can become Ofsted registered, just as a word of warning, it does take about 12 weeks to do that. So it is kind of something that's, if you're already registered, it's worth looking into and seeing if it's something more you can do. And there's links on our website for more information on that. Minimum operating standards, so policies and procedures. So, you know, you need to have the below in place. We want to make sure that these camps are quality camps. You know, we don't just want to throw them out there and get them on. We want to make sure that they are quality assured and we've got the right people delivering on them with the right qualifications, and everything's kind of in place. So safeguarding policies, safer staffing processes. So you've got, you know, DBS checks, the staff got first aid. There's a whole training program as well that Herts Community Foundation put on. So there's loads of opportunities to upskill your staff as well as part of the program. School food standards, meals. So as I said, it has to, the meals that are provided do have to be school food standards. And again, on our website, we've got lots of information on what that is and what needs to be done. Food hygiene. So anybody serving the food has to have a food hygiene certificate. If you're getting food from elsewhere, or you're doing it on site, you have to have that place that you're either getting it from, or your site yourself has to have a food standards like agent has to come and kind of assess and make sure that you've ticked all the boxes. Health and safety, so risk assessments included a COVID risk assessment, still obviously quite prominent, and it's something that still needs to be considered, and making sure you've got the right insurance. So these are all things that you will kind of be having to show and get in when you're doing your grant application. So it's just making sure you've got everything in place. Also, yeah, it's worth considering staff ratios, and you know, you do need to look. There's some delivery organisations that do need to be Ofsted registered. Depends what age you're kind of focusing on, or how long your camps are, or what you're doing in your camp. So again, it's worth just having a look. A lot of the camps in the summer didn't have to be Ofsted registered, so don't worry. It's definitely something that you don't. It's not a definite, but it's just worth going and checking. Again, kind of the information's on our website for that. So kind of looking at the food side of things, so we're changing it up a little bit. How to provide food this year, we've for Christmas, we're not going to be having our Herts Catering Limited partnership. So we worked with Herts Catering throughout the Easter and summer holidays, and they were essentially coordinated food hubs across the county. So if a club couldn't access food or get food themselves, they used the Herts Catering Limited service. So that's not available for Christmas. Herts Catering just aren't. They're just not doing any food over the Christmas period. I think they've got staffing issues and all sorts of things like that. So you are going to have to look at how else you can deliver your own food, and making sure that again is food. It's food, school food standards. It's all the training is in place for the food hygiene, and the certificates are there, and if you're prepping it on site, you know, all those things need to have been in place. So it's something to consider, which is quite important, because a lot of our previous deliverers, I know, might have just been expecting that again, the Herts Catering partnership. So that's not going this time. So you do need to look at providing your own food. We are going to have a catering list, but again, I'll go on to that a bit later. But yeah, so some of the food options that can be included: cooking on site. So if you've got a kitchen at your venue, then brilliant, you can use that. A hot food delivery, so using a local organisation, can be a restaurant, cafe, food providers to deliver it. Cook, share and eat. So some of the camps did do that option, and they actually, you know, did it with the children, learned, and they cooked and then they ate their own lunch. So it's quite a nice option and brings in that food sort of training and learning a bit more about nutrition. Combination of all of these. Hot food is preferable where possible. So we did end up having to do, like on a Friday, a cold meal option, purely because Herts Catering didn't go on Fridays. So that is something that if you really can't find food one day, then, but yeah, hot food is preferable, purely because obviously the idea is that we're giving these children that hot meal that they wouldn't get. For Christmas, camp providers will need to contact local caterers. So yeah, as I mentioned, something we can help with. We're going to be providing a list of kind of local caterers who are willing to kind of be involved in with the project. So that's something we need to, you just need to consider. And it's, you know, you don't have to link with us for it. We'll just try and help. But, you know, you might already have organisations that you're aware of, or you know, locally, who would be willing to do it, and you can tie up with them. Evidence of staff and volunteers holding level 2 food hygiene. So again, as I mentioned, and food allergy certificates will be required. So again, there's training available for that. So if you are going to be prepping it on site, or even just dishing it up on site, that a level 2 food hygiene qualification is something that's definitely needed for that. Again, more on the food side of things. Yeah, if you are preparing food at your camp, your kitchen must have registered and inspected. That must have been registered and inspected by the Food Standards Agency. You kind of find out more information. Again, I'll share this presentation so you've got the links. But again, we will not be centrally coordinating food. So we'll provide a list of caterers so you can kind of contact them directly and work with them for that. But yeah, that's just something that's not going to be happening. That is obviously something that did happen before, which might change things for some people. It's just definitely worth considering and factoring in. And we've got a providing food page on our website that does have all these details and more. So please do have a look at that. And we will be adding that catering list to that. So marketing your camp. So we have county-wide happy brand marketing. It goes through schools. So we kind of work with the schools to promote the project, and they give out all the free school meal codes. That's how the parents receive the code and know to book on and know to use the right codes. Obviously, there's some areas where the schools haven't pushed it out, so we're just trying to work as much as we can to build up that we manage to get every school pushing it out. Social media, we obviously have a big social media campaign, newsletters that go out, paid advertising, and many other mediums that are county-wide. You're required to use the Happy brand on all your publicity. Happy brand marketing suite available to all delivery partners. So once you've got your grant and you're successful, you'll be shared kind of that, and it's on Canva, and you can tweak the posters and change them with your details. And then you are required to market your project locally. So that's something that we kind of really want to push, that you do promote it locally yourself as well, because we obviously can do the county-wide things. We can get people as much as we can, but you might know a lot more people locally to you who need this project, or you might have a lot more partners locally who can help you promote the project. So yeah, there's a big element of making sure you market yourself and don't just rely on the county-wide branding and marketing. And obviously it needs to be a part of the Playwaze booking system. So for instance, when all the camps are on there, you go on, a parent will type in the postcode or type in a town, so they might type in Broxbourne. It'll bring up everything that's available in Broxbourne. So your camps will be, they'll be seen by lots of different people, and people will pick what they want. So it's worth making sure your descriptions are what's going to attract people. More on the sort of Playways booking system. Shelley might be able to chip in here if needed. But you must upload your camps, to the system ahead of the date that the booking's open. So this is all kind of information that we will send forward across to you. But yeah, everything needs to be on that booking system before the project, before we go, live, because it's especially the first few days when everybody starts hearing about it. That's when we get a lot of people booking on. So it needs to be on there. When that happens, families participants will book by the Playways booking system, and it's a bit of an activity finder, as I've kind of mentioned. It also doubles up as where the monitoring and evaluation happens. So we kind of pull a lot of information from that. So at the moment we're just drilling down all the figures for summer, and we've got the percentages of males, females that took part, of the different ages of where people took part, or the schools where they've booked on from. And so it's lots and lots of information that we can get from there. So it's really crucial that this information is on there. Obviously for the Department of Education, when we report back to them, we need to make sure that it's all up to date and it's all on there. So kind of what you do is when your people book on, or people book on your camps, literally you would then need to, when the camp's actually live and happening, you have registered and you tick off, you go back on the site every day, tick, Johnny turned up, Sarah turned up, no, Sam didn't. So just so then it's all on there. And also it's just a way for you as well to have all the information all in one place, all their emergency contact details, all of their dietary requirements, which you're going to need to provide to your food provider. So it's really important that all the information is your stuff is on there. Playways generate they'll generate bespoke booking links that lead straight to your camp, so you can have special widgets on your website or on your social media that literally you can post those out, and they take people straight to where you want to book onto your camp. So that's another opportunity. How to get involved. So obviously you're on a webinar already. We do have another webinar on the 21st of September, same time, 6 o'clock. So, you know, if you've got anybody, other colleagues who want to hear a bit more about the project, then they can obviously come along to that one. Grant applications are live, so you can find out all the information on our website. But yeah, you can start applying now. They close on the 6th of October. So it's definitely worth starting to put things in place and start putting your applications together and go looking for those catering options or the venues, or, you know, if you want to deliver something, look at how you're going to deliver it and start. You can save as you go with your grant application as well. So you don't need to do it all at once. Happy FAQs. So this is a really useful document. Any questions that you might, you know, find, we'll try and answer them here as well. But if there's anything that, you know, we haven't, you've got a question, definitely look at our Happy FAQ, because there's so many different questions that we've had across Easter and summer that we've put into that document. So it's probably answered on there somewhere. So worth looking at that document, especially when you're doing your application form as well, just having it up so, you know, you can refer back to it. So we've got a part on our website that is called Specialist Provider section. So we know that not everybody's going to have everything they need in place to be able to deliver a camp themselves. You know, you might, with all intentions, want to, but you just don't have all the right things that are going to be able to do it, or it's going to be too much. So we've got a page on our website where you can share your information, and it's the kind of an opportunity for other organisations. You know, if they're struggling with the enrichment side of things, they might be able to look on there and be like, oh, okay, great, that organisation looks like they'll help us out with that. We can, you know, bring them in. Or same physical activity, you know, if you are looking down the arts and crafts route or something a little bit different, then you might need somebody to come in and do that hour of physical activity each day, and there might be somebody on there who can do that for you. Food, again, so we'll have any food providers we'll kind of put on there. You might provide food yourself, then brilliant, you know, add your stuff onto our site. So if you kind of feel you can support this, then do get in touch with us again. You'll see all the information. But yeah, it's just a way that we can kind of keep it all in one place, and organisations can go and have a look, and yeah, try and tie in as well. Okay, so that's the end. So the question and answer session. So I'll ask all the panelists, if you hopefully you can take yourselves off mute, and then any questions they'll start answering for you. We've got the question and answer function, so afraid you can't talk yourself if you didn't know already. So you just got to use the question and answer function, which is kind of next to the chat function. I know there's some in the chat already, so hopefully yeah, if you've got any questions, pop them in there and then we'll start answering them. Shelley, I don't know if you've got anything else you want to add as well.
Not necessarily at the moment, just I think if anyone's got any questions, I can answer those. For those of you that have used the Playwaze system over Easter and summer, if you've logged on there in probably the last couple of weeks, you might have noticed a few differences in how it looks, and that is largely based on the fact that Playwaze were doing quite a lot of development work, but there was always the risk of, if they transferred things over the summer period, that it could have just crashed the whole system. Playwaze has been adopted by a number of other active partnerships, so they're kind of doing development work that appeases everybody. So I would encourage you, if you're an existing provider, just log on, have a look. There will be plenty of opportunities for you to get more familiar with it, and we'll run some training sessions with Playwaze later in the year, because there will be new additions that are going to come onto the site. We've had quite a long meeting with them today, giving them some of your guys' feedback that we've picked up over the summer, some comments we've had from parents around kind of booking flow, the simplicity of doing things. So yeah, don't be alarmed if it looks completely different. You will get an opportunity to navigate your way around it again. And I guess just to impress that if you do end up making an application, that booking system is really integral, and it's really important that we list the activities properly from the beginning. So something else that we'll be looking at is giving camp providers a lot more support with respect to exactly how to list stuff, the most effective way with respect to marketing, what makes it easier for parents to find your activities, because yeah, it was an improvement at summer from Easter, but there are more improvements to be made at Christmas than from summer. But yeah, the booking system is one of those things, as Jane mentioned. It's a non-negotiable. It's not going to go away. There are people that have had issues with how it is used, and we're looking at putting some more development costs behind it to try and make it even better.
Yeah, so evening everyone. Just to add to that, obviously, we're slowly going to start to get a little bit more, I say the word strict, but kind of providing you with more tools to really understand and utilize the Playwaze system. So we've had and gone through quite a lot of feedback from those that have delivered before, and what we're finding is that the Playwaze system itself is underutilized, and actually with that has caused a few complications. So we're simplifying it, but then providing all providers with more tools in their armory. And I just want to clarify on the £30 increase. So there are several different reasons for the increase from where we were at Easter to where we are today. What I want to be crystal clear about is just because we're at £30 for Christmas 2021 definitely does not mean that any future provision that is delivered, we will be at £30. We've been very fortunate, and thanks to Herts County Council for doing all of the number crunching to enable us to get to that mark. Obviously, as far as they're concerned, the Department for Education has given us a budget. We want to make sure all of that money is utilised. Jane's already touched on the fact that we anticipate costs in general going up a little bit for indoor venues. In addition to that, we are increasing the expectation on you as deliverers. And some of the expectation around that might have additional costs associated to it with it. And then the final thing on that is the quality of delivery. So we've audited 47 different providers over the course of the summer around that quality, and we'll be providing that feedback as well to all of those that we've been to kind of see, and just to give our feedback. But also we've had over 300 response from parents as well around how they found summer delivery. And I know Jane's already touched on it as well, and just within that is actually how we and how you put yourself out there on the Playwaze system. We're going to be far more prescriptive around how you do that, and the best ways to get that as much as possible. The other thing I just wanted to touch on was food. So recently we've had long conversations with the DFE nationally around food. The preferred option is a hot meal, and that is the DFE's constant guidance as it's a school standard hot meal. There is flexibility in that. One of the ideas that's already been agreed to by the DFE is a soup and sandwich option for Christmas. And for those that are new who haven't delivered before, I'm really wanting more community organisations to give it a go as much as they can over Christmas, utilise the ability that you can deliver for 1 day or 2 days, and give it a real opportunity to utilise those resources that you've got around your club or community facility as well. But there is that option of providing a cold meal, but obviously you need to be specific and you need to demonstrate how that meets a school standard nutritional meal. The reason for the hot meal, just to be really, it's not us that are dictating that. It is the research suggests that we providing that hot meal is potentially the only hot meal that young person will get in a given day. That's the reason why it's there. It's not us trying to be difficult in any sense. I think we've.
Yeah, there's a question in the thing, Shelley. Can you see that question?
Yeah, let me have a look. Not too much a question, but a comment regarding Playwaze. Having spoken with other happy providers, it became apparent that parents could book onto as many projects as they like and then allow their kids to choose which one they would like to do on the day. This meant people couldn't get onto sessions despite there being places available on the day. So we'll do these one at a time because, Laura, you've made another point. So I had a conversation with Josh this morning and he fed some of this back. So for everybody else's benefit, Josh is a colleague at HSP and works quite closely around sort of the Watford decorum area. So he's actually kind of mentioned, oh, sorry, Dan, Dan on Laura's behalf. But yeah, the fact remains, I've had a conversation about this. We've mentioned this to Playwaze. Fortunately, it's become apparent through the active partnerships work as well that this is really becoming a problem. So one of the things that we're going to look at doing is either putting something in place whereby before you confirm your second booking, so if I've booked my child on for one and I'm about to make a second booking potentially on the same day at the same time, there's a warning that flags up that says, are you aware you've already got a booking on this day? So it's almost a warning thing. What we've gone back and said is that's not really strong enough. We want them to be able to have to cancel something before they book something else, and they've completely taken it on board. They're going to go away and look at it and put something in place, but 150% agree with that. It's definitely been a problem, and it's been brought up by lots and lots of different camp providers, and I think that's one of the downsides of it being free. There are lots of parents that plan in advance and then forget they've booked onto camps, and you know, whether that's the reason for duplicate bookings or they're hedging their bets, we're not sure. But yeah, it is definitely something we brought up with Playwaze as the second point for them to look at. There was also a concern over text being sent out to parents via Playwaze when an option for everyday text was selected. However, not all texts went out. I'm going to try and work out what you mean by this. So there weren't any text messages sent out via Playwaze. What we found is on day one, we realised that there was quite a large amount of non-attendance at our Fit, Fed and Read camps. We've got access to a text message system which the partnership pays for, so you credit it with sort of payments and then it goes out at sort of less than a penny a text, and we decided we would utilise it. And what we were doing is picking up all of the phone numbers for the next day's camps for parents, and then send out a mass text message. Because we were trying to keep it to one message, we weren't giving the specifics of the day and the time of each camp. And also, I'm sure you guys appreciate, at the height of summer we had over 100 camps a day running, and to do that bespoke with times and venues and stuff just wasn't possible. So we were sending out a blanket reminder to say, hi, just a reminder, your child's got a booking at an activity camp tomorrow. Any questions, please contact our email address, and that they should have had a confirmation email. That's what we were doing. I'm trying to understand, maybe you can give me a little bit more context, Dan, what you mean by text not went out. That's what we did. I'm not sure what it is that you are referring to. Perfect, that was spot on. Okay, so yeah, I guess just to summarize, we did send out text message reminders. What we're going to try and do for for Christmas, is see if there's a way that we can use Excel to pre-populate some of those messages, so that if at the very least it's got the parent's name, or it's got, you know, some kind of indication that gives people a bit more clarity on where they're meant to be going, because those texts generated a lot of emails into our office with, I can't remember where to go, please can you check the booking, what time do I need to be there? And obviously a parent replies thinking that they're the only person in the world, and it's then a lot of work to try and fathom out, who are you, what's the child's name, where is it you live, you know, trying to work out where 1 out of 2,000 kids per day is supposed to be is quite a big task. Question answered.
Just to jump in before Nikki does, and then I'm going to hand over to Nikki. Just on bank holidays, you are fully able to deliver on bank holiday, but we do anticipate any partner that wants to deliver on bank holiday, and we've already had some people come forward and say that's what they're interested in. You really do need to think about that and provide some rationale when you put your grant application in, for obvious reasons, but that opportunity is very much open. And then the final thing on that, there is flexibility, and we've had one organisation who is going to deliver directly with one specific school to say that their school is closed on Tuesday, I think it's the 21st of December, and the school would like them to deliver on that day for their free school meals. That is acceptable, but is an exception to the rule. So if you know that your specific cohort at a very specific school is free on that day, that is okay, but you have to come and get permission from either HSP or HCF prior to submitting your application. Nikki, over to you.
Thanks, Matt. Yes, I just thought it'd be really helpful to clarify the dates for everyone. So as you know, we're open now. We're closing on the 6th of October at midnight, as Jane was saying. We've got the panel meeting on the 16th of November, and then we've got work to do behind the scenes, and we'll be contacting everybody with the outcome 18th, 19th of November. So by end of day on that 19th, you'll know whether or not you've been successful. With the process itself, if I could just ask that everyone's just as clear as possible about what actually you're offering or proposing to offer as part of the programme. I have to summarise that for the panel, so it's really good just to get a real sense of what it is that you're looking to deliver. So if you can be as specific as possible, and if you can, please also include just a mini sample timetable of what the day looks like. So if you're running 9 to 1, then what they're doing from 9 till 10, 10 till 11. Just to give us that bit of breakdown and insight into that. Thank you. With regards to the food, obviously we've already noted that things have changed this time, so if you can, again, in the food question, be really clear about giving examples of the types of food that you're going to be providing, and just explaining those arrangements to us as well. It doesn't have to be a massive piece of work, but just something so we have a good overview of what that will look like. And again, if you're delivering or proposing you deliver on bank holidays, again, if you can be clear about that, and we might see a reduction in the numbers that you're proposing, for example, for those sessions. So again, be clear, and please do give myself or the HSP team a call in advance just to kind of run through those queries. I can help with any queries you have about the application process in general. If there's anything at all you want to run past me, then please do anytime. That would be great to speak to you. And of course, the HSP team are very helpful with regards to programme delivery. And one thing that we haven't mentioned in this is that HSP kindly put together a really, really helpful resource base of different enrichment activities that lots of will be available on their website. I'm sure that'll be the same this time. So it is worth as well having a look at that, so that you have a really good range of enrichment activities when you're moving on to successful delivery of your programmes. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Nikki. And then the final thing, just to note, apologies, it might just cut out a minute. For those that delivered over summer, your application will also, so we have, through a request from HEC and HCF and for the best things for the programme, we have done a bit of a review in terms of what you applied to deliver and what was actually delivered. So we will be providing that feedback to the board. So when you put your application, if say you put an application in for 3 programmes for 30 places, and all of a sudden at Christmas you want to deliver 10 programmes, and from our viewpoint is that your programmes over summer weren't full, then we'll be like, well, how are you justifying that significant increase in your numbers of programmes you're going to deliver? And same, if you never delivered over the summer and all of a sudden you're going from no delivery to wanting to deliver 10 days, you just need to provide that justification. My strong advice to all applicants is to have a quick chat with Nikki or Helen or someone in the HSP team, especially if you're new to HAF, and if you are looking at changing your application for Christmas. I just strongly advise you all. And as Nikki mentioned, one of the big differences is there is no flexibility in the 6th of October deadline. If you miss that deadline, I can't stress enough that you won't be able to press the submit button on the 7th, the 8th, the 12th, the 15th of October. If you miss the 6th, that's it, it's gone. And a lot of that is driven financially by the needs of the DFE and the money that we need to get out and how the process needs to work as we come towards the end of a calendar year. So there simply just isn't the resource or the ability to be as flexible as we were over the summer. So from our point of view as a project team, we really want to help you over September in the lead up to the 6th of October for you all to be in the best position possible to make sure that the application is watertight. So when it goes to the grants board, they're very happy. We can say as a kind of advisors on that board that, yeah, we've spoken to Joe on X, Y or Z camp, and yeah, this is why they're asking or stating this and that. So it is really important that we understand those applications as they come in. And you might think it's a petty question or a really small and you don't want to bother us. You know, our time now is really to make sure that your providers are in a really good place come Christmas. So do utilise the team that is around you. I have nothing else, team.
I've got one more thing actually, Matt. I should have mentioned that existing providers that delivered over the summer period have to or can submit a reduced number of supporting documents. Obviously, we have a lot of your information already on file from that original application, and so please do look at the guidance notes so that you can see what we're actually asking for. So for example, we would need your summer application, your summer monitoring information in, that's one of the requirements, etc. So please do look at that, and hopefully that will reduce some of the time it takes for your process. But please do check, and again, if you're not sure about that and whether, you know, if you're changing your legal structure or company name, etc., then of course we will need to look at you submitting as a new provider. So just again, as Matt said, ask us anything now. That's what we're here for, and we'd love to speak to you. Thank you.
Anybody's got any other questions or anything just before we finish?
Just last thing from me is that it's become apparent in the past, some organisations are fantastic at the enrichment side of it, but that phraseology does throw up a little bit of confusion in some cases. So one of the things that we would like to do is speak to some of the providers who feel, or we saw, did fantastic enrichment, and to kind of just have a bit of a sharing, not to kind of point these guys out as being this is how you should do it, but to kind of share some of the ways that they made it easier, more fun, more resourceful, because that does seem to be something that a lot of the camps struggled with. The sport and activity on the whole was really easy to deliver. The enrichment and coming up with the wealth of ideas relatively cheaply seemed to be a bit more of a challenge. So potentially once you've got your application in and we know who it is that we need to be addressing for Christmas, it might be before that, but we want to have a session where it's almost a bit of a best practice sharing type thing. So look out for that. We'll put it together. It will be a webinar again because it's just easier to do it that way. But the idea is that it gives you some really simple ideas of how you can run enrichment activities perhaps a bit more comfortably than you've done in the past.
Great, thanks everybody. I've just put up our email address and website, so if you know there are any more questions, then do follow through on that. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining tonight. We will share the presentation with you all in the next day or couple of days, and I think that we will have a recording version of it as well available, so you know, if you want to share it with anybody else and they can't make the next webinar, then that's absolutely fine, and they'll be able to access it. Thank